Hey, lovely people of YouTube. Today we're talking about sexual fantasies. I'm going to tell you how to address this very interesting topic and also sometimes difficult topic. Stay tuned for this video. All right, sexual fantasies. Very difficult topics at times. And I want to share a comment that one of the guys that watches the channel asked me. This is a question, and I think many of you probably have this same question. So this is the question he puts on the channel. He says, "Hi Charlie, I have many sexual fantasies I would love to do with my wife, including threesomes and other wild things. I'm worried she may freak out or may cause some problems in our marriage. How can I go about it? Thanks." Okay, I think this is a question that many of us have or have had in the past, and it's something that, of course, we're worried. We're worried about how the other person what the other person may think about us, how he or she may judge what we say, because for whatever reason, our background, for whatever beliefs and anything that we have in our head and we have grown up with, we have judgment about many things, and we may think that how can someone that loves me think this or wants to do this? So how do we go about it? How do we actually address this issue? All right, the first thing is have an open mind. And the first thing is, if in this case I want to tell my wife or my girlfriend about sexual fantasies, I would sit down with her and say, "Hey, I would love to talk about sexual fantasies. You want to talk about it?" Normally she would say yes, or he would say yes, because I think if you're a couple, in our society today, I think communication is key in order to have a good relationship. So I think, if he or she is not willing to even talk about it, I don't know, maybe there's a much deeper problem. Maybe you should try to go to a sexual counselor that can help you out with this. But normally she or he would say yes. All right. And the first thing you need to tell her or him is, "Hey, we need to talk about this with an open mind. I want you to know that I love you, that everything is okay. It's just things that come to my head that I would love to do for whatever reason. It's just things that come to my head." So first thing, open mind, very important thing. An open mind means not judging the other person. Never judge anybody's thoughts or fantasies or anything like that, because that's the first step to not actually being able to do anything. Because if you judge, if you think, well, that's not right, that's bad, that you don't love me if you think that, this is wrong. Okay, because one thing that you need to have in your head, a fantasy, it's a fantasy. Fantasy means that something that's in your head, something that has not happened, or if it has happened, it has happened in the past with someone else, or and you might want to do it again with this person. So a fantasy is something that's in your head. It's here, it's not happening, it has not happened. All right, and you want to do it for whatever reason, because it turns you on, because you've always wanted to do it, because whatever reason you want to do it. So first thing, fantasy is a fantasy. So when you sit in front of your partner and you want to start talking about it, you say, "Hey, this is a fantasy and it's in our head, and it doesn't have to come true." That's the second thing you have to tell your partner about. This is a fantasy. It does not have to come true. It could come true, but it doesn't have to. It's just something that I would love to do. And if it doesn't come true, I'm not going to love you less. I'm not going to leave you. Because it's just a fantasy. You have to put everything in perspective. A fantasy compared to a deep loving relationship, a fantasy is nothing in your relationship. It's just very, it's not important at all. I mean, you need to put everything into perspective. So fantasies are just fantasies. It's a fun thing. It's a fun game to do as a couple in your sexual life. So first thing, you need to know that you need to talk about it as a fantasy first, okay? And say, for example, I want to do a threesome. Let's say this a fantasy is a very common fantasy. I want to do a threesome. All right. Now, if you're a guy and tell your girlfriend, "I want to do a threesome," normally you would like to do it with another girl. Most of the time, it could be a guy, whatever. But you have to say, "Hey, what do you think about that? How would you like to do something like that?" And she will tell you whatever she thinks, whatever she would like to do, or whatever not, or say, "Hey, I don't like that," or whatever. Now, when you have sex, before you actually even do it, you can actually fantasize about it. Let's say, hey, next time we have sex, let's fantasize about having someone in our bedroom as well, for example. All right. And that's someone that comes and joins us, and let's fantasize about it. Let's even talk about it. While we're doing it, let's fantasize that there's someone there, and we can dirty talk, we can do whatever. Now make it as a fantasy. No, it's not happening. It's a fantasy. So imagine that there's someone else there and that you're doing it. Now this game has to be played fair. Both have to be willing to do it and actually execute it. Do it like that. Do it like a fantasy, talking about it, imagining how it would be if there was someone there. Now, this fantasy could come true if you want later. It doesn't have to come true at that time. And if it comes true because you want to do it, both have to be willing to do it. And this is a dangerous game if one of you is not willing to do it, or is not because it can break a relationship, and it's really sad to break a relationship because of a sexual fantasy, in my opinion. Okay, if you love someone and you break that relationship because of a fantasy, because she doesn't want to do this or that, for me it makes no sense. But okay, everyone can think whatever, but for me it makes no sense. So first, start making it as a fantasy, a real fantasy that it's in your head. Maybe you want to do it in public, and hey, let's talk about, while you're having sex, imagine that there's people watching you, or people that can watch you or can see you or can catch you doing sex in public. So the second thing that you need to be very sure that you don't do is judging the other person, because sometimes we could be very surprised about why fantasies come to our head. We don't really know why someone wants to do something. Maybe something that they saw sometime, maybe something that comes to their head at one point because of a touch sensation, maybe of a visual thing, something they saw or something they imagined seeing. And the first thing that you need to understand is there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing bad with sexual fantasies. There's nothing bad with having that in your head. Because our, there's so many blogs and maybe things that we have from our childhood that we thought that were bad for us or wrong or whatever. There's nothing really wrong as long as you're not hurting anybody. And sexual fantasies, everything counts. Everything is okay as long as you're not hurting someone. So don't judge your partner because of having a sexual fantasy. Don't ever do that. If you don't want to share it with him, if you don't want to do it because it doesn't turn you on, that's okay. But don't judge him or her because he or she wants to do this. That's the first thing you need to understand, because sexual fantasies come to our head, and the mind is a very strange organ. Really, it's something that we don't really understand so well how it works and so on. And it just comes to our head, and that's it. And don't worry so much about what comes to your head, because it just comes and that's it. It's something that turns you on for whatever reason, and you should not let it make you think bad about someone. All right. So judging is not permitted if you want to talk about sexual fantasies, because it can actually make everything not even work. All right. That's my recommendation on sexual fantasies. I wanted to share with you. I wanted to answer our friend here on how to address this issue. Open mind again. Don't judge the other person. Talk about it and imagine doing it. All right. First, imagine doing it. Then you can talk about doing it in real life. But if you do it in real life, there must be love, strong love, and a lot of truth, and you have to be very sincere with the other person and let him know or her know that this is not going to change our relationship. So that's another issue. It's something that you really need to talk about it, and only strong couples can actually do those things without breaking up and so on. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. 2 thumbs up if you like this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel to receive videos like this every week. Down here, I'll leave you a link to a great sex course where you can learn more about sexual fantasies and anything you need about sex and becoming a better lover. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.